Hi, Keller Williams Brokers. Today we're going to be talking about promissory notes, um, why we need them, why we don't need them, and what our consequences are for using these. An audit issue recently revealed a promissory note that had been added to a contract after closing. So in that case, the promissory note was being used to notify the sellers that the buyers were going to be late in delivering their earnest money. Now, paragraph B on our purchase and sale form 21 has a default amount of time for the buyer to deposit their earnest money of 2 days after mutual acceptance. Now, as you all know, you can write in the number of days on page 1 of form 21 after mutual that your buyer is to deposit earnest money, but the default on the contract is that 2 days. So if your buyer is going to need more time to deposit their earnest money, maybe they need to convert funds, maybe funds are coming from another party, a family member, um, maybe they have another reason that they need more time for their earnest money to be deposited. You need to have that conversation with them when you're writing the offer about the logistics of earnest money and how soon it can be deposited. If it does occur after mutual that there's going to be a delay in your buyer's depositing earnest money, then you need to modify the provision of the purchase and sale to allow your buyer to do that. And the way to do that is not through a promissory note. It is through an addendum to the purchase and sale, a Form 34, saying buyer will deposit their earnest money on X date, or buyer will deposit their earnest money so many days after closing, or buyer will deposit their earnest money upon satisfaction of inspection contingency. Whatever the buyer's requirement is on that, that is where it's to be reflected on a Form 34, and that has to be signed by the buyers and the sellers. Now, our audit issue with the promissory note came up because it was added to give the buyer more time to deposit their earnest money. They were having trouble figuring out escrow's portal and wire instructions and so forth. And the promissory note was executed, signed by the buyer, and it was sent to the listing agent, but it was never signed by the sellers. There's no signature line on the promissory note for the sellers. It was never referenced in the purchase and sale. It was never written in on the first page of the purchase and sale as being an addendum to the contract. So there was no record that the sellers had received or acknowledged the promissory note. So then what happened? Audit results came back, your earnest money was late. So generally speaking, I would say that the use of the promissory note is very, very limited, and I think that generally you don't need it for your transactions. The same purpose can be achieved with a simple addendum, and that is preferable to putting on a promissory note that does not have a place for all of the parties to sign. And just like with a closing date, if all parties agree on a term, they agree when the earnest money is going to be deposited, and you can attach that addendum to your contract. Shouldn't be a problem. Just use a regular Form 34 and not your promissory note. If you have any questions about this or any other forms, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thanks so much for watching.